fire and ice, fire and ice. On Monday nights, lace up, take flight. They are on life. Fire and ice, Reggie Reyes, Kathy Williams, vision is bright, tune in at 8:30 tonight, Mondays, fun day, just click on the site.
See the topic of discussion, Sports Illustrated, music influenced by the youth trying to make it, giving back to the kids, molding future scholars, fire and ice, check the views and the followers.
Fire and ice, fire and ice, fire and ice, yeah.
Welcome to Fire and Ice, the Reggie Williams Show. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to cover the NBA playoffs, and also we have a great author of many books, James Falcon. He's going to join the show in a little while, but right now, and I just want to talk about the things that we do as Shooting Stars Basketball Academy. We take kids 5 to 12. We mentor them, we tutor them, we teach them how to play basketball. So it's a growth time for the young kids to develop them early to get them on that success road to success. And also we have books and basketball, and we try to correlate that with my AAU basketball team, as 11 and U basketball team that is a traveling team that we try to use basketball and books. You're learning and you're learning how to play basketball at the same time. So, you know, to be that great student athlete, you need both, transition to both of those. I'm welcome again, like I said, and I have my son. He's my co-host tonight.
How you guys doing this evening?
And he worked for me when we first started. And if anyone looking for a great trainer of conditioning or basketball, he get it from me. So he's a great guy. He's a Morehouse graduate, doing well for himself, and you know, we're gonna have a great show for you guys. And we're gonna start it off with about these NBA playoffs. They've been very exciting, you know. Some people say, but some people don't like it because Golden State and Cleveland are running away with these playoffs. I mean, what you think?
Well, as far as the game last night, the Boston and Cleveland game, that was a extreme surprise to me, because when Isaiah went down, everybody was like, okay, it was already a wrap to begin with. You know, we already knew that Cleveland was going to take it, but when Isaiah went down, it was like, okay, let's hit the parking lot. But they rallied, and it kind of made me remember that, you know, a team with no superstar is one of the harder teams to guard and one of the harder teams to plan against, because you don't have that one person or those two people that you have to stop. You kind of have to stop anybody, because anybody can score at any different time. So it was an exciting game. I'm happy that they kind of won, you know, gave Cleveland some pushback. So we'll see what they do on Tuesday night. As far as the Golden State series, that was just, you know, I was looking forward to a 7-game series, but with the injuries and, you know, everything that was happening in that situation, it's kind of like, you know, we're looking to next year for a good, you know, Eastern and Western Conference Finals where we can actually get behind it and get excited about it.
Well, let's take a look at that, the Eastern Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. I think that Cleveland took the night off. I thought that, you know, with Isaiah being out, that the leader and the superstar of the team, Cleveland thought it was going to be a cakewalk, that those guys was going to just lay down and die. But those guys are a better team with Isaiah because they're a better defender. They're bigger in the backcourt, and Marcus Smart and Avery, they can guard any guard on the court. And so I thought they took the night off. I thought LeBron was trying to get everybody else in the game because he knows that he will need those guys in the next round.
Yeah.
So, but they come back. It's still going to be a short series.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And they're going to take care of business tomorrow night. But tonight game, I think it's going to be the end for San Antonio.
Oh yeah,
I really don't believe that the Spurs can not win without Kawhi.
They don't have a heart as a team, in my opinion. They don't have their heart is gone because you take away Tony Parker, Tim already retired, and now you have Kawhi out. Like who was your rally guy? Who was your hoorah? Who was your hey guys, let's do this? Like you have him on the bench, but you don't have anybody on the court who can do that. And then what really surprised me is LaMarcus Aldridge and how he's just faded to black during this series because he coming from Portland, a guy scoring 30 points a game, the heart and soul of that team, the go-to guy. This is your time to shine. This is your time to put the team on your back and you be the rally guy. And he gave up as soon as Kawhi Leonard went down.
Well, he's supposed to be the replacement of Tim Duncan. We know that's not true because he's not the defensive presence as Tim Duncan. And Greg Popovich team, I've never seen a Greg Popovich team just lay down without a fight.
Right.
So I'm looking for the guys to come back and show up. Even if they don't win a series, it looked like they're not going to win a series. They're not going to win a series. They might win a game if they do it tonight, maybe. But I'm not looking forward to it. No. But it's been interesting playoffs, and a lot of people are upset about that. But it's two super teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like when Bird and Magic
every year
during my time. They were in there every year. They didn't complain about that. But if you have a good finals, to see who the best of the East or the best of the West.
Yeah. I mean, I think the finals are going to be with the Cleveland versus Golden State matchup. That's going to be. I feel like it's going to be an exciting series. I'm hoping for an exciting series. Of course, I have Golden State taking it because pound for pound, if you look at the team, Golden State on paper is a better team, and I feel like that addition to KD and then their backcourt with their big men, or their front court, with their big men that they added. I don't know if LeBron could will them, but I know it's gonna go at least 6 games.
Well, I'm pulling for Cleveland. I like Golden State, but I'm not a big fan of Golden State. I know the guys can play, and they gotten better with KD, but I'm still going with the Cavaliers. I think they, when it comes around to the nitty gritty, that they will be the more physical team. Like they played last year. They kind of beat up on Golden State because the referees allowed it to happen in the finals. And during the regular season, there's not a lot of defense played in the NBA at all. So Golden State already have some of the best shooters that ever played, but they shoot open shots.
Right.
If you give those guys open shots,
they're going to make them.
They're going to make those shots. So during the regular season, just like I said, they don't play a lot of defense.
Right.
But in the finals,
it's defense
you got
wins.
JR and you had Shumpert. They 6'5", and they running Clay and Steph off of those 3-point lines. So that was the difference of last year's finals.
You made a good point. Just want to touch on it really quickly about last year and how the refs. I mean, it was the topic of discussion months after Cleveland won the championship, how the refs were letting them pull and tug and hold down the shooters. How do you feel this year because of how the backlash that the refs heard and the league heard about it? How do you think that's going to influence how they coach? How they ref this coming up finals?
Well, I think it's going to be the same way last year because it's the finals. It's the last level for the championship, and they want a 7-game series.
Right.
So the only way they can get that is let a man up. Let a man up. And Golden State have to be ready for that type of play. But I just see it's going to be a great series, and everybody who was mumbling and grumbling about Golden State running away with the West and Cleveland running away with the East.
They're going to still watching it. I mean, it's still going to be
it's going to be epic because this is the rubber match.
Right.
It's been
1-1.
They split the last 2 finals. So this is the rubber match.
Right.
And so all those guys, everybody healthy, and so they're gonna be ready to play. Reg, I just have a question. Since you're a younger guy, I'm older. How do you feel about today's game? You like the way the game is played with all the threes and all the shooting up the ball and the non-existence of the big man?
Well, coming from our household, coming from watching you play and having you teach me, I've always been all about shooting. You were a great shooter in college, great shooter in the NBA, great shooter period. From the time you started touching the ball, and you passed that on to me and Ryan. So I love it. I mean, I love the equalization of the 3-point shot and just shooting in general, and how the shooters of the league, Steph and Kyrie and all the great shooters in the league right now have learned to score even though the defenders know they're shooters. Steph Curry is going to shoot threes, but it's still hard. Like the way he moves, the way he finds the shot, the way he releases it, he still does it. Like going into a game against Golden State, Steph and Clay are going to shoot, and every game they play, they shoot and make it. So it's kind of like I said, it's a good equalizer, and it makes the game fun to watch because now it opens the floor for the more athletic players. Because of Steph and Clay, you might see Andre Iguodala, go down for a monster slam because everybody worried about the perimeter. So as far as the disappearance of the big man, I mean, as me as a player, I've always been a slasher or a shooter or whatever. So the disappearance of it is kind of, it kind of hasn't really had an effect on me.
Well, as they open it up, it's more of a fan-friendly game. It's more like the European game.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where the big men
are shooters, are scorers.
So it was an influx of international players that came in during the time I was playing, and they kind of opened it up to make it a worldwide game. So that's why the non-existence of the big man really has gone away, and the stretch forward, that's where they get the stretch forward. But my question was, back now, the younger guys get some kind of resistance from the older dudes who played, and
it's
they
saying
like that they hating on them, and I don't think the guys are hating on them, because when I go to like the conferences, the retired players conferences, I don't get that. I don't sense that. The only thing that the older guys want is acknowledgement.
Yeah, they paved the way.
Where they paved the way, where when you see him, you give him that respect. The guys today sometimes a little arrogant, whereas, basketball started when they started to play.
Right.
And that's not true. In each era, is always the 70s taught the 80s how to do it. The 80s taught the 90s. So the guys today got to realize that it was basketball played before they got their brand name.
That's what it is.
Their big
like
contracts
you
and things like that.
You just said it. Back, like you said, when you were playing and when Magic and Bird and all of them were playing, you didn't see no $100 million contract. You didn't see no, lifetime shoe deal like LeBron has. And I feel like not all of the players, but some of that is a testament to how they feel right now, because they've had so much access. Today's game is so much more money involved. There's so much more, popularity involved. There's so much more showmanship involved. And that kind of has jaded, the respect factor of the younger players, because they feel like, look, you guys did what y'all did, but this is something new. But that's not the case. I mean, as I look at it, it's not the case, because those are the players that still made it so you can have $1 million contract.
They paved the way. They pioneered that anything, you do in life is always somebody did it before you. Because Steph Curry is a great shooter. It was great shooters back
before
then.
Him,
before him.
Yeah.
So you have to give the older guys just want the respect and acknowledgement that, hey, we did it to pave the way
so
for
you can
to get all this riches. They don't want the money or anything like that. They just want the acknowledgement that, hey,
and respect.
It was basketball played before you came on that court.
Right.
And some of the guys are historians. Steph Curry was pretty much raised around basketball.
Right,
LeBron James is a historian. He always give the guys respect.
Right.
D Wade, guys like that.
Yeah.
But
it's not universal. It's just
it's not universal. And then to bring that bridge together, where we all still can work together, because still one day they're gonna retire.
Right, yeah, and then they're gonna be in the
on
same
my
point.
side.
Yeah,
they're gonna be on the outside. So it's always,
and they're gonna want that respect.
Yeah,
they're gonna want that respect.
They're gonna want that respect for the next crew that come in there, and so they have to give it and give that acknowledgement. So when they get older, in their 50s and done, with basketball,
and they can sit here and speak
on it.
Speak
on it too. So they will realize that, hey man, it was basketball before I played, and So that's what's going on with that.
I had a quick question because I know y'all probably touched on it. I think I did touch on it before, but the new influx of the college players coming in this year, it's only one name that's really been standing out as far as who's coming out, and that's the Ball. How do you feel as a dad? Because I know Mom has talked on the show about it, but it wasn't really mandatory for us to play basketball. If we wanted to play, you was going to show us the right play, the right way to play, and you wasn't going to be hard on us because if you're going to do this, you're going to do it right. How do you feel as a father? How do you feel that LeVar Ball is handling? Do you see it as a positive thing, a negative thing? Do you see it as a help or a hindrance? Like how he is always in the media and how he's always, saying these, having these interviews and saying these things. Do you feel like that's hurting his sons or is it helping his sons?
Well, I can say a little bit of both. I'm gonna tell you why it can help his son. If he's working his son out to be the best and he's supporting his son in whatever he wants to do, I think a dad should go down that route. I mean, you got to be a dad, and you love your kids. You want to see him better, but you don't go out in the street and announce it to everybody in the world, that you got the greatest son in the world.
Right.
Because people tend to look at that as being arrogant
and negative,
and negative, and then they look to have venom against your son.
Right.
And you don't want that extra pressure. There's already pressure on him, and I don't think that that he should do that part. I think he should encourage him to be the best. If he needs trainers or whatever he needs to do to get better as a basketball player, and also he needs to let him play before 1 minute in the NBA.
Yeah.
Before he does that, but the negative part is what I said. The going on all the TV shows
and just saying
anything out of his mouth. He can beat Steph Curry. He can beat Jordan. Just nonsense.
The Lakers are going to the finals with my son on the team, and you can have like coming from somebody younger, because I'm on social media. I see everything he does. Like I see they replay it, and I see that it's been a negative backlash against his son because people who don't even know basketball like that are starting to resent the son because of the father. What he's saying.
Yeah, that's what I said. The negative part of it that he's doing this TV circuit, and that he's just bolstering, but he's not playing.
Right, his son.
He had his playing days when he averaged 2 points in college, so he had his day. So let his son have his day, and then let him make his way, and just sit back and do the business side of it.
Right.
Just don't bolster and brag.
Because he's writing a big check right now, and from what I understand, and I can't even begin to understand where his son's mind is at, but he is writing a really big check, and if he can't cash it, then you already know you have people at the starting line just ready to go in. You have social media personnel, you have sports personnel, you have just the media in general, you have the public in general, who you've already built this army of people against your son because of your antics. And if he doesn't produce, then you're not gonna be the one to catch the backlash. It's gonna be him because he's playing.
And as far as his product. His line, I think, is a great thing. If he can get away with that, he would be along with the Nike, Under Armour, and he will be the first black person that do something like that
with the shoe company.
The shoe company, the brand. But he's going about it the wrong way. He's pissing off the
wrong
big
people.
boys,
Yeah.
And why he should try to let his son play. Build up his stock in the NBA, and maybe they'll
come to him.
They come to him looking for deals,
right?
But he's
burning bridges.
He's burning bridges before they even start. So I don't agree with the way he's doing that, but the idea is great. That if he can get this thing kicked off, it'd be a wonderful thing.
Right, and he has 3 sons. He's gonna bring each of them in as they graduate high school and college, and ultimately the NBA. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it as a father, and then get your cause your birth of basketball knowledge too, as far as how that goes.
Yes, but right now we're going to take a short break, and we're going to bring the author James Falcon in to talk about a lot of the things that he has to talk about in the community and family and relationships. So we'll be back with Fire and Ice, the Reggie Williams Show.
Hey, Tim, having a little fun at the casino? Nice stack of chips.
Yeah, it's my earnings for the last 6 months. I'm putting it all down on the roulette wheel.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Nah, crazy is putting my money in a bank where interest rates are so low, I'll be 100 before I see a decent return.
Well,
crazy is putting all my money in risky stocks and bonds.
Your odds would be better if you call Forecast Financial Group.
If you have capital, you'd probably like your money to work for you. What if you could earn at least 6% annually and have your principal returned in full at the end of a short 12-month cycle? The interest is paid monthly. Your yield isn't affected by fluctuations in markets, and you never pay fees or commissions. Call Forecast Financial Group at 1-800-678-2045 to learn about adding these safer short-term options to your portfolio. Call now, 1-800-678-2045. That's 1-800-678-2045. Forecast Financial Group, 1-800-678-2045.
Welcome back to Fire and Ice, the Reggie Williams Show. We have a special guest on the show tonight, James Falcon. When we were growing up, he was younger. Now he's a man today. He's a good friend of my brother's, and when my brother told me that what James was doing, I was excited. I said, man, I got to get him on the show to talk about this, because you don't see a whole lot of, brothers, black men, doing the things that he's doing. And I just wanted to bring him on the show so he can share his story with everyone. And welcome to the show, James.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Reggie. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, James, with your background of writing books, you wrote 8.
I have.
You wrote 8.
Uh-huh.
And I just want people to know how you go about doing that.
Sure.
What started you?
Absolutely. Be happy to tell you. So my story, before I can give you the front story, I have to give you the backstory. So the backstory started when I was 23 years old, and I rolled into a church, and I met a man, a pastor, husband and wife, pastoral team, the Davises, and they were pastoring a church out in Randallstown up in Baltimore. And they were both a phenomenal team, but Pastor Donald Davis was his name. He's since passed on. Every time I came in contact with this man, every single time he would say, Brother James, be encouraged. Be encouraged. And that's all I would hear. Every phone conversation, just before he hung up, Brother James, be encouraged. Now fast forward. That was 23. Fast forward to when I was 40. When I was 40, I had what I like to call a crash and burn experience. Some people would call it a nervous breakdown, hit the wall, whatever you want to call it. But I had made a series of poor decisions, poor investments, not financially, but socially, emotionally, and all of those things came crashing down. And I found myself in a really dark place, all because of me. I can't blame a person, a system, or relate. It wasn't that. It was things that I didn't do or didn't process correctly. I didn't do them in a healthy manner. And so one day in my room, I'm literally on the floor, crying, in tears, not knowing where to go. And it seemed like everything was pitch black around me. And I could hear Pastor Donald Davis' voice, be encouraged, be encouraged. And so from that, what I did was I started to build in 2010 an entire encouragement-based network. So what I did was I started posting things on Facebook, Reggie. Mm-hmm. And I felt like there was another James Falcon out there that needed to hear something encouraging before he slit his wrist, jumped off the bridge, all of the weird things that people tend to do. So I started writing and posting on Facebook to talk to me out there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that developed into several Facebook pages, Blog Talk Radio, and then I started writing things down. Okay. And I put a few of these thoughts in books, and here we are 7 years later, 8 books later. 4 of the 8 books are books of poetry, but everything that I've done was born out of blackness and pain, trying to find a me to encourage.
Okay. I mean, that's a great story, man, and I'm just glad that you came here to talk about it. And Reggie, you have anything or?
Well, Mr. Falcon, I'm not, 100%. I don't know of your writing. Now that I've met you, I'm definitely going to, take a look at it. But with everything that you're saying, is it like who is it geared to? Because usually when you have like the experience that you had at such a you had it at at 40, correct?
At 40. Yep.
Is it kind of like you have this break and then you look back to 23 or beyond and see like what did I do to get here?
Yeah.
And of course you take those experiences and you put them in your writing. When I say who do you gear to, is it an open form as far as stay encouraged, or are you going for the youth? Are you going for the older?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question. Awesome question. Excellent question. And yes, and yes.
Okay.
But specifically, anybody that needs encouragement, what I do is it's kind of odd because encouragement is almost like carrying an umbrella. You're hoping to have the coverage you need when it rains. Encouragement, you can't really sell that. It's intangible. So you're selling a concept in hopes that if you today need encouragement,
right,
and I come along, you hear me do a public speaking piece, you hear me preach, you hear me give and deliver some poetry, or you read one of my books, if you are in need of encouragement, it clicks automatically. You can connect the dots. Hopefully your spirit is uplifted and you can go on. But for the vast majority of people, young, old, black, white, women, men, it doesn't matter. I'm sharing a concept for them to put in their pocket.
Right.
In the event when they get to a low point, they can whip that out and go, you know what that brother just said, or that guy, I read his book. And it's kind of like that umbrella, but now it's raining for those people.
Right.
And they pop it up. So it is whoever is willing and able to listen. I'm speaking to those who are downtrodden, but I'm also speaking to those who have everything going for them.
Right.
And maybe they may not understand like I didn't when the job calls and you get the pink slip, or when your husband or wife walks out and now you're in a crisis. Now, okay, yeah, let me go back to
right.
that
It's better
person.
to have it and not
Exactly.
need it than to need it and not have
Exactly.
it.
As a matter of fact, my tagline is encouragement. Yep, it's kind of corny until you need some.
Right.
That's my tagline, because when you think about it, when you talk about encouragement, it's like, well, who needs that now? I'm living on top of the world. But it's for the rainy day.
Yeah, I see in your bio that you phrased encouragement is key.
Is key.
You got four components.
Yep.
Proponents up there: individuals that you deal with,
Absolutely.
couples, leaders, and teams.
And teams. Yep, that's it.
And I think that's important. You kind of cover the ground with that.
Yeah.
It's very important that you can reach, all of
Absolutely.
those
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
In your bio, you have like a biblical kind of background.
Yes, sir.
Do you see yourself going into preaching? Being a pastor of a church?
Well, it's a good question. I get that a lot of times. I am actually still in ministry, thankfully. I'm a part of an incredible fellowship up in Baltimore City, and so I'm part of that ministerial leadership team, so I preach periodically. Do I see myself pastoring? I don't know. It depends. The pastoring piece is a little tricky at different points in time. I'm open and willing to listen to go and to do wherever God wants me to go. I have pastored before. My wife and family and I, we were in ministry. We had a church, if you will, of about 200 and some people. I'm just tied to the needs of people. If it comes down to that and an opportunity presents itself, sure, I'll step back into that. But I feel like my pulpit is my books.
Right.
And anytime somebody gives me a microphone,
Yeah.
I may not pull a Bible verse out necessarily, but I feel like I'm sharing the good news of encouragement and of love, and being able to share with people, hey, right where you are, the Lord loves you, and hang in there. Keep your head up. So, but absolutely, if whatever materializes coming down the pipe.
Yes, we're both from Baltimore.
Born and raised.
We kind of grew up on that 28th
Yes,
Street
sir.
Side of town, Greenmount.
Yes, sir.
We need a lot of help in Baltimore, man. I know you back there trying to do the best you can with that. What can we do, man? What kind of outlets can we get these people back to where they can live a great life?
Absolutely. You and I. It's a very good question, Reggie. I think what needs to happen is everybody has a role to play, and everybody has a role that they can play. And I feel like it's incumbent upon everyone, whether you understand what happens in East Baltimore or in areas where the need exists, everybody can do something. My approach has always been very grassroots. I like going person to person. I like going door to door. I like having events and being able to share with people, touching lives, praying with folk, or on the biblical but non-religious side, it could be job fairs. It could be doing
definitely.
things, because not everything.
Constructive.
Exactly. I was at your brother's event last week. I was talking to some of the guys that we grew up with, and one of the brothers, very wise young man, he dropped a bit of knowledge on me that was powerful. And he said, James, what we had in our neighborhood was a little different. We had structure. We had the recreation center. He listed all these components.
Thank you. Say it again, James.
We
Recreation
had structure.
center.
We had recreation centers.
Ooh.
We had. You remember the guy at the recreation center? We used to call him the White Shadow, from the TV show. So he was one of the few white people in our neighborhood of predominantly African Americans, and he was a really great role model. He invested for years. I think Shadow was there like 20 years. But we had those components that kept us together, and we had strong households. With mothers and fathers that would gladly put strap and boot to hind parts.
I'm young and I feel what you're saying from that.
Absolutely.
And I actually had a question for you because
Sure.
Recently I became a member of the YAP program, Youth Advocacy Program in Baltimore. Well, it's based in Baltimore, but they have offices all over Maryland. And I'm in my training stage right now, and I live in Rockville, and the need for structure and that positive role model, like it's just as prevalent in places, I guess, has the prestige of Rockville.
Yeah.
You still have kids who are, have everything but are still lashing out.
Absolutely.
And I actually had an opportunity to speak at, well, not speak, but kind of listen at a high school. And I had a young, young black male ask me, he was real disheartened. It kind of broke my heart because, given everything that's going on right now and, the state of, what is the black man's life worth? He kind of was on the, I'm do good for what? Why? When tomorrow I can, just be walking to school and, get shot or something happen like that. And he's like, and it was, like I said, it really broke my heart because at that young, this boy was not even 16 years old.
Right.
And he just is like kind of coasting, like just like, biting my time, just waiting, not really fired up to go get anything because he's been so jaded by, what's been going on for the last 5 or so years.
Yeah. To that, if I could. So let me tell you a quick story. So I was invited recently by a friend of mine to an all-white setting of a club down in Arbutus to share some pieces about cultural diversity, to share some things about the African American experience. And one of the pieces that I said in delivering that presentation was that there's a real shift happening in America right now, to address your point. The baby boomer generation is getting older. They are getting older. Many are dying off. Many are going into periods where their health is declining, etc. So there's this huge transference of power and authority happening in America among all races. With the baby boomers being such a large generation, with them fading out, what's happening is batons are being passed to our generation. And from that, what I wanted to share was we had in many of our households, I know it was my family, definitely y'all's, you had a big mama, a big papa, right? An uncle, a grandmother, somebody that spoke life, somebody that gave direction. My mother was that. Somehow or another, out of 12 siblings, by the time I came along, a little bit after my brother, my mother was kind of the family's go-to person.
Right.
Where they needed my mom to bless something, if some kind of decision. Well, my mom's passed on now. So my point for you with regard to that young man is somebody needs to be that young man's big mama, big papa, if it's just for a sentence. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
A lot of times we think it's this monumental investment that we got to pay this guy's college tuition. No, spend some time with him or her. Share something encouraging. It may be one time or a series of times. But again, I think what really needs to happen, bottom line is just like we're driving in traffic, there's a million opportunities passing us by. Are we paying attention? Are we dialed in? And are we willing to go, okay, yeah, I'll take that opportunity? Because that young man is screaming for somebody to encourage him.
Definitely.
So thank you, brother.
No,
and congratulations for you being a part of this program, when you see a young man like that, give him something right then and there, and then maybe your job may be to move on so somebody else can. So I think we got to capitalize on those opportunities.
Yes, and I also think that we have to get these kids early on because we can't wait till they get in their teens
Right.
16,
to
17,
work
17.
on these kids.
Right.
Like the program I have is just not an after-school program. We mentor these kids because these kids are waking up angry.
Yeah.
At
Mad.
5, 6 years
Yep.
old, and when they come to the academy, they off the hook.
Yeah.
You know, because they angry about something.
Yeah.
You know, how can you be angry
Such
5
a
o'clock,
young
5:30 in
age.
the morning? A kid, you know, cussing or fighting, and so we have to get these kids early on because I had a kid who has gotten put out of. He was 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. He got put out of 3 schools at 8 years old.
Wow.
So, and he had an anger problem. Why do this kid have an anger problem? So if we don't catch this kid now,
Yeah.
in his teens, he may not be here.
Yeah, that's true.
He may not be here of the day.
That's true.
So what you say about that, James? Do we have to get these kids
Absolutely.
early, man?
Again, I feel like it's an opportunity, and I feel like the minute we see the opportunity, we got to capitalize on it. I'm reminded of a story that I heard years ago that I think kind of presents the picture. One of the rockers, I can't think of his name. But he was one of the rockers that started the whole phase where they really brought a lot of death and destruction into the heavy metal industry.
What's it, Marilyn Manson?
Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
Marilyn Manson. The story behind Marilyn Manson was he rolled into a church one day, angry, bitter, twisted. And because he was different, everybody passed up the opportunity. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that the guy is beyond, help. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying to make this one point. They passed by him. Nobody said, "Ooh, I will." And so he, in some later interviews, he said, had somebody touched me then, my life probably would have been different. And I think about that story.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, Russ. I was that angry kid in school.
Okay.
I was the flip desk
Yeah.
over. I was why did I do it? I came from a decent home. I was doing it for attention. I was doing it because maybe there was something I saw or couldn't cope with, and I manifested that in material. And it was teachers that would pull me aside, and say something because the need was there. They didn't wait. Had they waited, where would I have been?
Yeah.
I'd probably be a statistic. So, I had a number of people in my life. The pastor I told you about, Pastor Donald Davis, these people spent time. They were the folks that said, "Hey, Falk, come over to the house." Or, "Hey, look, let's go get a chicken box." Because, a whole lot happens over a chicken box.
That's right.
They said, let's do something. I had cousins, my brother, my cousins. I had people that took a minute and they realized, man, this brother is broken now. Let me give him something now. And that something helped. So as the angry kid, I'm thankful that people capitalized on it. Your program, situation you're in, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I just heard a good point that I just had one question about, because you made the point of the baby boomers and the big mamas, and having that solid foundation or that rock or that outlet you could go to, and you spoke on passing the baton. Now I'm 28 years old. And, like I said, in this program, I'm starting to hear and see a lot of things that I kind of knew were there, but I'm getting a front row seat as, the problem. So how do you feel, or what do you feel is going to make kids, well, not kids, but like young men my age and, people who are close to the ages of these kids who need help, what is going to make them go out and, mentor them and give them that positive push and give them that, look, it's a better way. You don't have to do this. You come ride with me. Let's go to the gym. Let's go to the recording studio. Like what's I mean, we have some. Don't get me wrong. It's not a total loss, but it's not enough. So what, in your opinion, from what you've went through, what is your opinion in how kids my age and young men my age can
do something?
Yeah. Before you answer, James, when James was speaking earlier, he was saying the missing of the recreation center. See, that's where we went after school. That was our
hangout. That was the place to be.
Our place to be.
Yeah.
That's where our mentors were.
Yeah.
We weren't going there and looking for them, but they were great people.
Yeah.
Leon Howard was a guy who came from Connecticut, who had interest in the inner city kid. I kind of raised up in Lafayette Project, and he was a director down there. And before I even got down there, he was working with guys like Skip Wise, who became a Baltimore legend. He worked with him, so he kept us as
In
young
line.
guys in line.
Yeah.
Kept us off the street. Now, when you left there, you did what you wanted to do, but around him, he kept you
your nose
straight and narrow.
clean, yeah.
He kept you straight and narrow.
Yeah. No, so I think so when I hit the open mic spoken word poetry scene, I'll tell you a story that's relevant. I used to go to this spot down on 25th Street. It's called St. Mary's. Great group of guys that ran it, that were hosting it, and I'm just kind of, getting my self involved in this whole open mic poetry scene. So this was like two or 3 years ago. And I rolled in there one day, and the guys are all your age,
Okay.
right? And so I'm 47. Back then I was 45. So I'm in a situation where I'm the old cat, right?
Right.
And what was funny was after a few times that I visited, and after I laid down a few pieces of poetry, and after the guys heard my heart, I'll never forget a really dear friend of mine. He pulled me aside. Before he pulled me aside, he said to the group, this is what he said, and I'll try not to cry when I say this. He said, let me explain something to y'all. He said, I don't like old people. He said, I just don't. He said, but this guy right here is different. He said, this guy right here, this is what he said, cares, and he listens. He was like, to answer your point, he said, what our generation, again, he's your age, needs that generation to do is stop long enough to give us some attention. And so every time I would go back, man, he would do an introduction that would always bring me to tears, because he would say, man, this guy right here, listen to him, y'all. Listen to this guy. Shut up. And he would make a pathway for me. He gave me a lot of deference and a lot of respect. But what I heard was folks in my generation, I'm what you call Generation X, we weren't stopping long enough to give his generation what they needed. And that's a miss on my whole generation. You know what I mean? Because technically, I'm 47, so I can technically be your dad.
Right.
So think about me having a child. Here we go, is another topic. Yeah. And I'm not paying attention to that child. Where the child is like, hey,
I'm here.
I need you.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? And this brother,
you.
basically what he was saying is y'all are moving too fast and we're right here. And another thing, he said, y'all always criticize us. But who's spending time with us? So every time I'd go to the spot, hugs, talking to brothers, and different things. But they saw, at least in the little bit that I could present, somebody that was willing to talk. So my point is, brother, I feel like that's what the generation needs. I think all of us need that. I need that.
Yes, that's true.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's universal.
Yeah.
White folk,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what's your background. Everybody needs somebody in their lives to spend some time with and to show them or encourage them to keep going. And I think that's it. It's just sad that your generation is probably vocalizing it so much.
Right.
But I think all the generations feel like that.
I
That's
feel
a
like
true
that's great
statement.
You know what I mean?
It's a true
answer,
statement because I had my mentors. I couldn't be who I am without them. I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
The career that I had, the player, the person that I was or am today, I wouldn't be here.
Yep,
I wouldn't be
hear you.
here. So we needed those guys.
Mm-hmm.
If we may have a caller, so we'll check and see if we have a caller. Call a station. We got a great speaker, great person. And so
I think I know who this is, though.
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
Hello.
Bingo.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, but he's saying,
What was that?
okay, so I have been listening to you guys. First of all, this is me, Kathy Williams, and I would like to say thank you so much.
Keep talking, because it's a delay, so keep talking.
Okay, yeah, I can hear the delay, so I'm going to move away because I can hear the delay. But in any event, I've been listening to you. I'm talking. I've been listening to you guys talk for quite some time. And first of all, I would like to thank our guest. wonderful information. Just in the moment that I've been, or this time I've been listening, I can tell that you care. But of course, I have a lot to say, so I'm going to just try to make some points real fast about what are the things that you guys have been talking about. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about the thing that everyone needs, especially our youth today, is to know that somebody cares. And when they get that, understanding and that feeling that someone cares, then it makes a big difference. And this generation, or within this period of time in society, everything is based on material things and what you have, where you live, what you drive, the shoes, the clothes. But what is really priceless is time. And that's what we have to look at, the time that we spend with the kids, the time that you spend with your family.
Yeah.
And the family structure is definitely broken. That was one thing I wanted to talk about. Also, Reggie, you were talking about recreation centers, and that was our outlet. However, it's not anymore because kids have outlets. They have options. And the recreation center is not where they want to go.
Yeah, they want to either run the street, go to the malls, and cause a lot of chaos. And we don't want neither of those type of things.
And play video games.
And play video games.
Right. And that right there, I think we have to redirect that energy to where they can get mentoring, they can get other options that will help them to be productive citizens and be successful in the things that they may want to do.
Yeah.
And my final comment that you all talked about, I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to be a little more brief, is when you talk about teachers. I know you were talking about, well, you had teachers at school, you had people who cared, you had people who mentored you throughout the day. But if you think about it, today, most of the day of kids is spent in school. However, teachers don't get the respect not only from kids but from society. Mm-hmm. And I know that from experience. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to be that role model, that mentor for a lot of kids who are already or who really need you, when your position is so disrespected by society.
Yeah.
And when we talk about kids that have problems, the problem is that the issues they have are not being addressed, but rather being dismissed. They pass them on, like we talk about the little 8-year-old we had. He's been to 4 schools, and he's 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Who's really addressing his problem? Nobody.
They covering it up. They're covering it up like it is not happening.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's problem. It's not my son or my daughter. It's the school's problem. It's the teacher's problem. But the actual problem is the kid. The kid needs help. Mm-hmm. And in most cases, it's a single family. The mother either raising the kid or the father. Either or. It's never a family raising that kid. And when people come to our academy, it's more of the mother. And the father is not there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also is a problem too.
Can I share this real quick with the caller on the line? And again, I'm a big softie, so every once in a while you'll see a little tear flow.
No problem. The caller, James, is my wife. She's my co-host.
Okay.
Kathy, so that's why she's extended.
Amen. Okay. Pleasure to talk with you, man. Pleasure. I'll tell you a real quick story. As I was mentioning about getting involved, just do something. This is a true story. I can't even make this up. I played Little League Baseball.
Same to you.
Thank you. And I wasn't even very good playing Little League Baseball. And I played for Dewey's, right, up in Baltimore City. And I went through, I think I was on the 8 and 9 team, etc. Well, my coach and my assistant coach, I didn't realize it, but they were believers, right? Great job mentoring me through being a knucklehead, etc. My assistant coach pulled me aside. He said, son, I see something in you, and I'm going to teach you how to pitch. Now, this is my first time playing anything organized. He would stay after practice, game after game, practice after practice. And so I started throwing from the mound. I was, a little league pitcher. I'm like, this can't even be real. I didn't even know the game, let alone I'm pitching, right? Fast forward 25 years. I'm in Bible college now. And look who walks in as one of my professors, but that teacher. He starts prophesying. God showed up in the class. He starts prophesying. He was pointing to me. So from 6, 7, 8 years old, my Little League baseball teacher, I didn't realize, had a relationship with the Lord in such that he was committed to things in the community. And he wound up, to this day, wound up being one of the biggest influence on me. And just doing things in general. But again, what did he do? He coached something simple. But we just don't realize the investment that we make every single day that has these far-reaching consequences.
True. That's true, James. And you have to have that. I mean, when that was happening, that was something great.
And that's what I'm talking about great. Now. We don't understand, or we don't get to see that now, that people who are in your life are significant.
Yeah. And I think, too, as men, here's something that I learned, too. For men, it's not as hard as we think. Because I find a lot of times, as a man, whether I just look at myself as a man or a black man, here's one of the things that I'm always challenged to do. Just be.
Yes.
Yeah, when you think about it, like a lot of times as men, as men, white or black, we wear the weight of the world. We're supposed to be providers in many senses. A lot of guys tap out. But if you just be in the home, be in the family, be at work,
presence,
just be, by virtue of who we are. If we just are there, when you look at family reunions, you look at some families, you see a lot of women, all the women in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But you see very few older guys because we tap out. If we're not struggling with health reasons and other factors, we're absent. So I think for your generation, one of the things we need to encourage your generation to do, just like you guys are encouraging my generation, is to show up first. And then we get good at showing up. Then we can get good at articulating. We can get good at, but it's a process. First thing, just get there.
Yeah.
And learn how to
I
stay.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree. The presence of the male is one of the most important parts that must be in place. And even though, that's a whole different topic for me too, because I feel like that is the missing link to the family, to the male, to the female, your son, your daughter, the girls, the boys, across the board. Males, the presence of the male would make so much of a difference. I know I have a quick story about that where I was teaching this young guy. He was in the 11th grade. I had him 11th and 12th grade, and then he graduated, and he always came back to see me. And one day, a 9th grade young man was in my class showing out. Just doing the most. And I put him in his place, because that's what I do. And then when he left, the other gentleman who I had over the years, he said to me, I used to be just like that. And I looked at him and I said, no way. Because he was the model student, when I had him. And he said, no, I used to be that way when I was younger. And I asked him what happened. And he said, I finally got the opportunity to meet my father and spend time with my father. And although for many, many years my mother told me the same thing, taught me the same thing, instilled values and morals in me, when my father said it, it meant so much more, or it had a different effect on me where I felt like I needed to stand up and have a positive image and create a positive image about myself and do right in society, do right in school, and do the best I could to reach my goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's across the board with the presence of a male.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though females are good, but I think that a male as a staple in any environment creates or adds more positivity to it.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to take a short break, and I want to get into that. Keep on with what we're talking about with the poem. What did that poem, "When Men Speak"? I want you to talk a little bit about that, James, when we come back. This is Fire and Ice, the Reggie Williams Show. Let me take a short break.
Absolutely.
Casino? Nice stack of chips.
Yeah, it's my earnings for the last 6 months. I'm putting it all down on the roulette wheel.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Nah, crazy is putting my money in a bank where interest rates are so low, I'll be 100 before I see a decent return. Whoa, crazy is putting all my money in risky stocks and bonds.
Your odds would be better if you call Forecast Financial Group.
If you have capital, you'd probably like your money to work for you. What if you could earn at least 6% annually and have your principal returned in full at the end of a short 12-month? 1-800-678-2045. Forecast Financial Group. 1-800-678-2045.
Welcome back to Fire and Ice, the Reggie Williams Show. We're going to finish up on what we were talking about. James, where did you get this, Why Men Speak? Is that you talking, or where did it come from?
Absolutely, Reggie. So When Men Speak was something I developed to try to give men an opportunity to encourage other men to do better and to be better and to be more thoughtful in their relationships with the women in their lives. You know, oftentimes we get together as men and the conversations aren't always healthy or productive or instructional when it comes to our communication with each other about women. So When Men Speak is a men's forum, man to man, to say, hey, brother, before you do something crazy, just think about that for a second, right? And it gives men the opportunity to pause for a second and encourage and mentor each other. And out of that came a few books and a number of other things that I felt like were necessary.
Okay. Well, we don't have that much time, James. Do you want to tell my audience where they can find the books, or whatever you want to tell them about your writing, or
Sure.
Let them know, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate this opportunity, Reggie. Thank you. So my name is my brand. My brand is my name. If you Google James W. Falcon, like the bird, Falcon, or Encouragement is Key. If you Google Encouragement is Key, it'll show you a long list of the things and the projects that I'm doing. There are 8 books. I'd like to invite everybody to go out to Barnes & Noble, where you can pick up my latest book of poetry that's called Excerpts from the Journal of an Aging Man. It's out. Barnes & Noble is carrying this. So this is a number of poems that I've written as I'm in these middle years of my life. But you can go to my website, Encouragement is Key, and see all of the things that I'm doing. I just recently released a newsletter this past Saturday. It's a women-to-women newsletter. The same principle that I do with When Men Speak, I had created a forum for women to do the same thing. And you can find that and all of those things from my blog page, Encouragement is Key. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming, James.
Thanks, Reggie, for having me.
All right.
Pleasure.
See you guys every Monday, 8:30 to 9:30. Fire and Ice, the Reggie Williams Show. See you guys later.